What's up, everybody? Leaf Green Goblin here with another late night video. I guess I forgot to plug my mic last time. It was a late night. It's another late night. I think I just said that already. Like I said in the last video, I probably would end up making another one because I forgot to talk about some stuff and watch the last video. I had added some stuff to kind of talk about in this video right here. One thing I wanted to kind of say before I get too long into this video, as a way to kind of summarize both of these videos, really, is that whether I'm being pretentious, whether I'm being too harsh, whether I end up, hating on whatever condition that you end up collecting, at the end of the day, condition, rarity, grading, whatever, it should be a it should be an extension of your collection and it shouldn't identify it. So whether you have PSA 10s, 9s, BGS, CGC, SGC, raw, beat up copies, doesn't matter. That should really just be a second or just another layer of or part of your storytelling when you're talking about your collection, or when you, maybe I'm crazy, but I kind of talk to myself about my collection from time to time since I don't have people to talk about it in real life, really. So kind of going to rattle off some points here from the last video that I didn't really touch up on. First thing, I felt like I was kind of bashing binder copies in the sense that I was saying that, I guess maybe I was making a case that binder copies, is that really, I feel like a term for binder copy is if you shouldn't send it for grading. And I was making a case that you can have clean binder copies. There's also nothing wrong with having beat up copies, of course, in your binder. If you want to be someone that you spend a lot on graded cards, those are like the apex of your collection, and then the binder is just kind of whatever you don't want graded. You just throw it in a binder, and you don't really have a set identity or a set collection. It's just a bunch of cards thrown in there. That's fine. I'll probably make videos on how to enhance your binder, to fall in love with your binder more, because I really do think if that's the best, like if you're going to maximize your binder potential, if you're someone, let's say you've always been into grading and into grading cards or just grading cards, and now you want to get into binders, organizing it, really, I think you'll get a lot out of binders, and you might see why some people like me, per se, or for example, really likes binders and tries to defend it so much. The second point was binder quality, how important that is. I was talking last video about how people overestimate the damage that could happen in binders, but that's assuming that, not worrying about that kind of stuff. That's assuming that you have a good binder. Really, Ultra Pro, Voltex, really just honestly any zippered binder without a D ring. I mean, some people say that D rings are fine. I tend not to risk it, not to get binder dings. I just go side loader. I like the black background, makes the cards pop more, and then just zipper, and then keep it away from sunlight, heat damage, whatever, because those binders, even the ones with like the strap, if you guys know, I just don't think they're as good as zippered binders. I think the main damage with when I think of what's the number one damage that could happen to your cards in binders is just external, just stuff from the environment, dust, whatever, any kind of particles, just moisture. So I really think zippered binders, it's that or bust. I see some videos like even with my cheap cards, I really just like to keep it in a zipper binder. I don't know, it just keeps it nice and snug, and I guess I really like zippers. Anyways, moving on. Been hearing some drama. I did say in one of my previous videos, I kind of took a break from social media and stuff when it comes to Pokemon related content, but I dipped my toes back in, and I noticed that there's some rumblings or just drama regarding grading companies, and I guess there's always a CGC versus PSA, whatever. Like I said, grading companies, upgraded, whatever, it should just be an extension of your collection. If you're really that into CGC or PSA or whatever, I mean, I think you're just you're lost in the sauce. That's what I'm gonna say. You're lost in the sauce. Personally, for me, if you want my personal opinion on grading companies, or just what I personally prefer, I never liked this old CGC labels because I just thought the blue clashed too much with my cards. and with the card art. And even if I know there are some cards where it's like if it's a blue card or like a water type and it's a blue label, they match well, but I'm not going to go out of my way to go get a CGC label because of that. The red around a PSA label is kind of, I guess, like maybe this is just me overthinking it, but like even in this kind of card here, I'm going to crack this. I showed this off last time. The red and like just this kind of brown, I don't know, just rustic orange, to me, those clash, and that does bother me a little bit. For some reason, just me personally, the red border on PSA, it doesn't bother me as much as the old blue CGC labels. And CGC, the new labels with the big number, they had the big number before. Same thing with BGS. I actually really like that PSA has small numbers, because for me, I'm just getting the main part of the card is just, I know it's a 10. I don't need to see that it's a 10 right in my face. I want the label to be as just minuscule and irrelevant as possible. As long as it's not gaudy and getting in the way of the art, that's perfect for me. But I understand that some people aren't like that. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're somebody that you spent a lot of money on a 10 and you want to see that nice big gold 10, or BGS, their numbers, I don't think they're as big as the CGC 10s, but I still think the numbers are a little too big for me. I actually I like BGS labels. I like the gold and the silver. For me, it's really just as simple as I like having all my cards in PSA. I buy CGC and BGS. I trust them enough to authenticate the cards that I buy. I know like with the pre-release Raichu, there was a little bit drama on that. I don't know too much about that card. I don't really want to comment too much about that. That's not really the point of the video, but the point is that I trust those grading companies, and really a lot of grading companies like Grad, GRAAD. It's a European grading company. I bought that a couple times. HGA. I think I bought an SGC card before, and I just crack them and I put them in the binder. But I think when you get too caught up in weak PSA 10s, strong PSA 10s, CGC having multiple 10s, you're really just getting, it's like the niche of the niche of the niche. And for me, there was a time where I liked hearing about those discussions, because I mean, I'm a bit of a drama queen. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of a troll in the chats, and just took a step back and thought, I like 110, the PSA 10. I'm good. I don't like the BGS 10 and Black Label 10. If you're someone that's really, really into the condition, I can see the allure of a Black Label or a pristine CGC 10. For me, it's just, I want gem mint, and I think it's a range. And I guess going back on the weak 10, strong 10, I do believe in those kind of things. When I'm looking at a grade, I do look at the scans, and I do want to make sure that it's a strong 10, or if it's a really, really, really weak 10, then I'll avoid. But it is very interesting sometimes how it can get in. People can get pretty heated about something like that. I've seen stuff like one time I've just posted about a 10, and I don't know if this is necessarily considered heated, but now thinking back about it, but people are like, I don't know, man, it's a 10. A 10 is a 10. I was like, well, have you seen some 9s, some 8, some 8s compared to some other 8s? I mean, that's the most cards I buy really are 8s, and I crack them. And I mean, some 8s, there's scratches all over when they show up. And anyways, as you can see, I think a lot of the pitfalls with condition and is really just, it takes away from the card sometimes.
2 hours later.
Basically, to get to the bottom of like why I prefer PSA over the others is really just the history. I'll just take the longevity over CGC and Beckett. I know Beckett's been around, but really, especially with CGC, when you're changing your grading scales, you're adding more 10s, it really just falls down to I just like I'll buy some CGC and Beckett slabs, and I'll crack them for the binder, but just having the PSA 10 is good enough for me in terms of if I'm trying to achieve max condition, quality, condition grade, whatever. So moving on to the next point, kind of surprised I didn't talk about in my last video was if I grade. And I do not grade. So that should tell you maybe how much faith I have in these grading companies. When I hear about companies damaging cards, when I hear about, just getting lost in the mail, or inconsistent grading, no matter how rare that might be for any of those, or common, depending on your experience or your opinion on how often those type of things happen, or fake cards getting authenticated, whatnot. For me, it's just not worth the risk, and especially since most of the cards that I buy, most graded cards that I buy they're not modern, so they're not as easy to source. I'm not saying that I'm buying these really rare cards. It's just not worth the time for me to go look for all these cards. I really only have 20 slabs, 23, somewhere around that range. So maybe there'll come a day where if I really have a bunch of graded cards, and I decide for some reason that I want, like, let's say PSA 10 alt art cards and cards that are really mass produced right now, and all of a sudden I want them gem mint condition, maybe I'll try to source those kind of cards. Even in the last video, you guys kind of know my opinion on that already. Yeah, I guess to really send this one home, I thought I had a lot more to talk about, but really the point I made early on about how all this grading stuff, it's interesting to talk about sometimes. The drama can be fun, but it's really just an extension of your collection, and really there's just so much more you can talk about with cards. Don't get too all caught up in it. I understand if you're sending your cards for grading, you're probably going to be a lot more engrossed in the value that grading companies bring you if you are sending your cards to get graded. So the reason why I made these two videos was basically if anybody wants to know about how I feel about condition, rarity, grading, whatnot, you can come to these two videos. I feel like I don't talk too much about condition in my other videos, even though I made like 6, 7. How many am I at? I don't know. So below double digits here. I've probably done like 10 takes of this video. I'm going to log off. I'm going to make some more videos coming out, more collector focused. Even though this does pertain to collectors, this topic. That's about it. Hope you guys are doing well. Have a good night. See you guys.